Dr. Sarah Chen pressed her palm against the reinforced glass of the observation deck, watching the massive railgun stretch across the Martian horizon like a metallic canyon. 3 years of her life had gone into this moment. 3 years of calculations, arguments with the Global Defense Council, and sleepless nights wondering if humanity was ready for weapons that could punch holes through moons. "Final systems check complete," announced Commander Reyes through the intercom. His voice carried the weight of someone who had seen too many weapons tests go wrong. "All personnel to safe positions." Sarah stepped back from the window, her heart hammering against her ribs. The railgun's barrel extended 47 kilometers across the Martian surface, its electromagnetic coils humming with enough energy to power New Tokyo for a week. This wasn't just a weapon. It was humanity's declaration that they had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe. "You know," said Dr. Marcus Webb, joining her at the observation window, "when I was a kid, I used to wonder if we were alone out here." He gestured toward the rust-colored sky where Earth hung like a blue jewel. 70 years of radio telescopes, quantum sensors, gravitational wave detectors. Nothing, not even a whisper. Sarah nodded, though her attention remained fixed on the railgun. "Maybe we're the first. Maybe intelligence is rarer than we thought. Or maybe," Marcus said quietly, everyone else learned to keep quiet. The countdown began. Sarah's breath fogged the glass as she leaned forward. 30 seconds. The railgun's targeting system locked onto a nickel-iron asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter, a rock the size of Manhattan that would provide enough raw materials to build a dozen space stations. 20 seconds. The electromagnetic field generators reached full power, creating a corridor of invisible force that would accelerate their projectile to 90,000 kilometers per second, fast enough to cross the solar system in 2 hours, fast enough to crack a planet if aimed correctly. 10 seconds. Sarah thought about her daughter back on Earth, probably asleep in her dorm room at Luna University. She thought about humanity's long journey from caves to starships, from stone tools to weapons that could shatter worlds. 5, 4, 3, 2, firing. The railgun discharged with sound like thunder being born. Even through the reinforced bunker, Sarah felt the shock wave in her bones. The projectile, a tungsten rod weighing 2 tons, vanished into space faster than human eyes could track. On the displays around them, telemetry confirmed a perfect launch. The asteroid lay in the crosshairs, 400 million kilometers away. Then something impossible happened. Every radio receiver on Mars went silent. "What the hell?" Marcus spun toward the communication station where technician Lopez was frantically adjusting dials. "Lopez, what's your status?" "Sir, I'm showing total radio blackout. Not just our equipment. Everything. Deep space monitoring, interplanetary communications, even background cosmic radiation." Lopez's voice cracked. It's like someone turned off the universe. Sarah felt ice form in her stomach. That's impossible. Cosmic background radiation is universal. It's been constant since the Big Bang. Commander Reyes burst through the blast doors, his face pale. "We're getting reports from Earth, Luna, the outer stations. Same story everywhere. Every radio telescope, every receiver, completely silent. Whatever we just did, it didn't just hit that asteroid." Sarah stared at the readouts. Their projectile was still racing toward its target, a speck of metal carrying humanity's hopes for expansion into the outer system. But now the silence pressed against them like a living thing. For the first time in human history, they were truly alone with their thoughts. "Commander!" Lopez called out, his voice tight with fear. "I'm picking up something on the quantum channels. It's not natural." They gathered around his station. On the screen, patterns danced, complex, mathematical, purposeful. Not the random fluctuations of quantum foam, but deliberate signals riding the fabric of space-time itself. Signals that had been there all along, hidden beneath the constant chatter of radio waves that had now mysteriously stopped. "My God," whispered Marcus. "It's a communications network. Quantum entanglement-based, operating on frequencies we never thought to monitor because the radio noise was too loud." Sarah felt the universe shift around her. "You're saying that when we stopped the radio signals." "We didn't stop them. Marcus said, his face white with understanding. They stopped themselves. Every civilization in the galaxy just went radio silent the moment we fired that railgun. Commander Reyes leaned over the display, watching the alien patterns pulse across the screen. The question is, why? What does a railgun shot have to do with? The quantum signals suddenly intensified. Mathematical concepts flowed past them. Coordinates, stellar positions, energy signatures. And then, buried in the data stream, something that made Sarah's blood freeze. A star chart centered on Sol. Earth's position marked with symbols that looked disturbingly like target designators. "They know where we are," she whispered. The patterns continued, now showing energy readings that matched their railgun signature perfectly. Somewhere in the galaxy, civilizations were analyzing their weapon, cataloging its capabilities, calculating its threat potential. "Commander," Lopez said, his voice barely audible, "there's more. I'm detecting massive energy buildups across 12 different star systems. Whatever they're doing, it's big." Sarah pressed her hand against the glass again, staring out at the Martian landscape that suddenly felt very small and very exposed. Humanity had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew the terrible answer. They never had been. The galaxy was full of life, full of intelligence, full of civilizations that had learned to hide in perfect silence. And humanity had just announced their presence with the most dangerous calling card imaginable. The emergency session of the Global Defense Council convened 18 hours after the railgun fired. Sarah found herself seated at a titanium table surrounded by the most powerful people on 3 worlds, all of them demanding answers she didn't have. "Dr. Chen," General Morrison's voice cut through the murmur of concerned voices, "explain to me how firing a mining tool at an asteroid triggered a galaxy-wide communications blackout." Sarah activated the holographic display above the table. The Milky Way appeared in miniature, spinning slowly as data points highlighted across its spiral arms. The quantum intercepts suggest we're dealing with at least 47 distinct communication networks. Each one went dark within minutes of our railgun discharge. 47 civilizations, breathed President Hassan, and they're all talking about us. "Not talking," corrected Dr. Webb from his position at the xenolinguistic station. "Screaming." The quantum traffic increased by 6,000% after the blackout. Mathematical sequences, coordinate systems, energy calculations. It's like they're mobilizing. Admiral Torres leaned forward, her weather hands gripping the table edge. "Mobilizing for what?" "We shot a chunk of metal at a rock." Sarah manipulated the display, zooming in on their projectile trajectory. The tungsten rod was still 12 hours from impact, an invisible speck carrying 2 tons of metal at 30% light speed. "It's not what we shot, Admiral. It's how fast we shot it." The room fell silent, except for the hum of life support systems. "Velocity equals lethality," Sarah continued. "At 90,000 kilometers per second, our projectile carries the kinetic energy of a 50-megaton nuclear warhead. But more importantly, it demonstrates mastery of electromagnetic field manipulation on a scale that apparently terrifies the galaxy." Minister Okafor of the African Coalition spoke up. "You're saying they view our railgun as a threat?" "I'm saying they view it as proof that humanity has reached a specific technological milestone." Sarah highlighted several star systems on the display. "Look at the energy signatures we're detecting. These civilizations aren't just hiding, they're preparing. Mass construction projects, fleet movements, resource mobilization." "Fleets?" General Morrison stood abruptly. "You're talking about invasion forces?" "I don't know what I'm talking about," Sarah admitted. "But 3 things are certain. First, the galaxy is full of intelligent life that's been deliberately hiding from radio detection. Second, our railgun test triggered automatic protocols across dozens of civilizations. Third, they're now engaged in massive military preparations." Dr. Webb cleared his throat. "There's something else. The quantum intercepts include historical data, star charts showing the positions of civilizations that no longer exist, entire species that simply vanished, always shortly after developing high-velocity kinetic weapons. The holographic displays shifted to show empty star systems, Worlds that once hosted thriving civilizations now reduced to asteroid fields and cooling gas giants. 17 documented cases across the galaxy's history. Species don't just disappear, Admiral Torres said quietly. They do if something hunts them, Sarah replied. Something that targets civilizations based on specific technological capabilities. President Hassan stood and walked a massive viewport overlooking Earth. The blue marble turned serenely in the void, unaware that its children had just announced their presence to forces beyond comprehension. Dr. Chen, in your professional opinion, how long do we have? Sarah looked at the quantum intercepts, scrolling across her screen. Energy buildups in distant star systems, fleet movements that defied conventional physics, resource mobilization on scales that dwarf human civilization. Based on the level of activity we're observing, I estimate 48 to 72 hours before the first response elements reach our solar system. Response elements, General Morrison repeated. You mean invasion forces? I mean something is coming. Whether it's diplomatic contact, preemptive strike, or something else entirely, I can't say. But the galaxy has been waiting for humanity to develop relativistic kinetic weapons, and now we have. Minister Okafor activated his personal communicator. I need to contact the Pan-Asian Defense Network immediately if we're facing a potential invasion. It's not an invasion, interrupted Dr. Webb. His face had gone pale as he studied the latest quantum intercepts. It's an extermination. The room fell silent. The historical data is clear, Webb continued. Every species that developed relativistic kinetic weapons was eliminated within weeks. Not conquered, not absorbed, eliminated. Complete sterilization of their home systems. Sarah felt the temperature drop. Why? What makes kinetic weapons so threatening that the entire galaxy mobilizes to destroy anyone who builds them? Because, came a new voice from the doorway, kinetic weapons can't be stopped. They turned to see Dr. Elizabeth Stone, Earth's leading theoretical physicist, carrying a data pad with trembling hands. I've been analyzing the interception data. The quantum communications aren't just between the civilizations we identified. They're also talking to something else. Something that's been dormant for millions of years. She approached the holographic display and highlighted a region near the galaxy's core. There's a massive energy signature here. Artificial, ancient, and it's been completely inactive until 18 hours ago. What is it? President Hassan demanded. I think, Dr. Stone said quietly, it's what killed the other 17 civilizations. And I think our railgun just woke it up. The quantum intercept suddenly shifted, all traffic now flowing toward the galactic core. Whatever slept there was awakening, responding to humanity's technological achievement with the patience of something that had performed this task many times before. Sarah stared at the growing energy signature on the display, understanding finally dawning. We're not the first species to develop relativistic weapons. We're just the latest. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, something ancient stirred. The first sign that humanity wasn't facing a conventional threat came when the Lunar Observatory detected gravitational anomalies near Neptune. Dr. Sarachin stood in the Emergency Command Center, watching impossible readings scroll across her displays while chaos erupted around her. Gravitational waves consistent with massive spatial displacement, reported Dr. Kim from the sensor station. Whatever's happening out there, it's bending space-time like taffy. Sarah gripped her coffee cup with white knuckles. 48 hours had passed since their railgun test, and the quantum intercepts had evolved from frantic communications to something far more disturbing. Countdown sequences synchronized across the galaxy. Admiral Torres, we have visual confirmation, called Lieutenant Martinez from the observation deck. The main screen flickered to life, showing Neptune's familiar blue disk. But something was wrong. The space around the ice giant rippled like water, and through those ripples, shapes emerged. Ships, if they could be called ships. Jesus Christ, whispered General Morrison. How big are those things? Sarah ran the calculations in her head. Using Neptune as a reference point, the largest structure is approximately 400 kilometers long. Mass readings suggest dense matter construction, neutronium or something similar. For 100 kilometers, Admiral Torres repeated. That's not a ship. That's a mobile space station. Dr. Webb burst through the command center doors, his tablet displaying streams of translated quantum data. It's not a station, it's a factory. The quantum intercepts are clear. They're not here to negotiate or study us. They're here to build something. On screen, the alien vessels, 3 of them now visible, arranged themselves in a perfect triangle around Neptune. Streams of energy connected them, forming geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. The space between the ships began to glow with an eerie blue light. What are they building? President Hassan demanded via secure link from the Geneva bunker. Sarah watched the energy patterns intensify. I think they're building a weapon. The quantum intercepts confirmed her worst fears. Mathematical sequences describing energy channeling, gravitational focusing, and target acquisition filled the screens. But the target coordinates made her blood freeze. Sol system, 3rd planet from the star. They're using Neptune as an anchor point, Dr. Kim reported. The gravitational manipulation is off the charts. It's like they're turning the entire planet into part of their weapon system. Admiral Torres activated the fleet communications array. All units, this is command. Implement Defense Protocol 7 immediately. I want every ship between Neptune and Earth within 6 hours. Sarah almost laughed at the absurdity. Humanity's entire space fleet consisted of 43 vessels, the largest being kilometer-long dreadnoughts. Against ships that dwarfed Earth's moon, their fleet looked like toys. Admiral, she said quietly, our weapons can't even scratch neutronium hulls. We need another approach. What do you suggest, Doctor? Diplomatic contact with things that are building planet killers. Before Sarah could answer, the quantum intercepts changed again. New patterns emerged, not the sterile mathematics of weapons construction, but something organic, living. The alien communication suddenly included biological data, DNA sequences, brain wave patterns, population statistics. They're cataloging us, Dr. Webb said, his face pale. Mapping human biology, neural patterns, genetic diversity. It's like they're preparing a complete species analysis. For what purpose? General Morrison demanded. Historical precedent suggests complete molecular disassembly, Webb replied quietly. The other 17 civilizations weren't just destroyed, they were erased. No ruins, no artifacts, no trace they ever existed. Sarah stared at the readings, pieces clicking together in her mind. The quantum network isn't just for communication. It's a database. Every species that develops relativistic weapons gets cataloged, analyzed, and eliminated with surgical precision. But why? President Hassan's voice crackled through the speakers. What makes kinetic weapons so dangerous that the entire galaxy mobilizes to destroy anyone who builds them? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Stone's voice echoed to a command center as she transmitted from the Antarctic Deep Space Array. Because kinetic weapons can destroy the quantum network itself. The room fell silent except for the hum of electronics and the distant rumble of Earth's rotation. The quantum communication system, Stone continued, relies on entangled particles distributed throughout the galaxy. Relativistic projectiles traveling at 30% light speed create massive space-time distortions. Fire enough of them, and you could shatter the quantum infrastructure that connects every civilization. Sarah felt the universe shift around her. We're not being eliminated because we're dangerous to other species. We're being eliminated because we're dangerous to their communication system. The entire galactic civilization depends on quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication across interstellar distances, Dr. Webb added, understanding dawning in his voice. A species with enough railguns could isolate every star system, cut off their networking, force them back into slower-than-light communication. That's why they all went radio silent when we fired, Sarah whispered. They switched to emergency quantum protocols because they thought we were about to attack their infrastructure. On screen, the alien construction project around Neptune reached completion. The 3 massive vessels now floated in perfect formation, connected by streams of energy that pulsed with malevolent purpose. Space itself seemed to bend around them, creating a lens of gravitational force aimed directly at Earth. Energy readings are spiking, reported Dr. Kim. Whatever they're building, it's powering up. Admiral Torres opened fleet communications. All vessels fall back to lunar orbit. Civilian evacuation protocols are now in effect. Sarah watched the readings climb. The weapon, for that's what it clearly was, drew power from Neptune's magnetic field, from the solar wind, from the quantum vacuum itself. It was a device designed to channel the fundamental forces of the universe into a single devastating beam. Time to full charge, General Morrison asked. Sarah ran the calculations. 17 hours, 36 minutes. And time for a complete civilian evacuation? 3 weeks minimum. The silence stretched between them, heavy with the weight of inevitable mathematics. 8 billion people on a planet facing extinction, with less than 18 hours to find miracle. There has to be something we can do, Admiral Torres said. Some weakness, some vulnerability. Sarah stared at the quantum intercepts flowing across her screen. 47 civilizations coordinating the destruction of humanity with the precision of a surgical strike. Behind them, something ancient and patient orchestrated the extermination with the experience of millions of years. But there, buried in the data streams, she noticed something odd, a pattern that didn't quite fit. Dr. Webb, she said slowly, look at communication node 23B. The quantum signature is different. Webb highlighted the transmission. You're right. The mathematical structure is younger, less refined. What does that mean? General Morrison demanded. Sarah felt a spark of hope ignite in her chest. It means not everyone in this galactic network is ancient. Someone out there is relatively new to this game. So maybe, Sarah said, her mind racing, they remember what it was like to be the ones facing extinction. The breakthrough came at 3:47 a.m. Greenwich Standard Time, when Dr. Webb successfully decoded a fragment of communication from the anomalous node. Sarah rushed to the xenolinguistics lab, finding Webb surrounded by holographic displays, showing mathematical structures unlike anything in the galactic database. It's not just different, Webb explained, his eyes bloodshot from 18 hours of continuous work. It's desperate. Look at these patterns. Sarah studied the quantum intercepts, where other civilizations communicated with cold precision. Node 23B transmitted with urgent, almost frantic energy. Mathematical pleas hidden in the data streams. They're trying to warn us, she breathed. More than that, they're trying to help. Webb highlighted specific sequences. Buried in their official communications to the network are secondary transmissions. Steganography, hidden messages using quantum fluctuation variations. Sarah's tablet chimed with an incoming priority message from Admiral Torres. The Neptune weapon was charging faster than predicted. 14 hours, 22 minutes to full power. What are they trying to tell us? She asked. Webb manipulated the display, isolating the hidden transmissions. Slowly, a picture emerged. Star charts showing safe routes through the galaxy. Technical specifications for quantum communication jammers. And most importantly, the location of something called the Preservation Protocol. Dr. Chen to Command Center. Sarah activated her communicator. We need an emergency council session. I think we found allies. 20 minutes later, the command center buzzed with activity. President Hassan had arrived from Geneva, his face grim but determined. Admiral Torres stood before the main display, showing Neptune's growing energy signature. General Morrison paced like a caged predator. Report, Dr. Chen, the president commanded. Sarah activated the holographic projector. We're not alone in this. One of the galactic civilizations is secretly helping us. They call themselves the Kepler Archive, survivors of a world destroyed 80,000 years ago for developing relativistic weapons. Survivors? Admiral Torres stepped closer. I thought the exterminations were complete. They were, for the most part. But the Kepler civilization had already established deep space research stations beyond their home system. When a weapon fired, 12,000 scientists and support personnel survived in exile. Dr. Webb joined the presentation. For 80 millennia, they've been part of the galactic network, forced to participate in these exterminations to maintain their cover. But they've also been preparing for this moment, when humanity would develop the technology to break the cycle. Break the cycle how? General Morrison demanded. Sarah manipulated the display to show the hidden data from the Kepler archive. The quantum network isn't just communication infrastructure. It's a control system. The ancient entity at the galactic core uses it to monitor and manipulate every civilization in the galaxy. As long as the network exists, no species can truly develop beyond a certain technological threshold. The preservation protocol, Webb continued, is a way to sever a civilization's connection to the network while maintaining their technological base. The Kepler archive has spent 80,000 years developing it. President Hassan leaned forward. What do they want from us? Our railgun, Sarah replied. Specifically, our ability to fire projectiles at 30% light speed with pinpoint accuracy. The preservation protocol requires a very precise strike at the quantum network's central node. Admiral Torres studied the tactical display. The entity at the galactic core, not the entity itself. The quantum infrastructure around it. Destroy the central hub, and the entire network collapses. Every civilization regains full autonomy. And the cost? President Hassan asked quietly. Webb's expression darkened. Instantaneous communication across the galaxy ends forever. Thousands of civilizations will be cut off from each other, forced back to slower-than-light contact methods. It would be the end of galactic civilization as it currently exists. The room fell silent. Outside, Earth continued its rotation, unaware that its children were contemplating an act that would reshape the galaxy. There's more, Sarah said. The Kepler archive has been tracking the ancient entity for millennia. It's not just a weapon system. It's a curator. It maintains galactic stability by preventing any single species from becoming too powerful. By committing genocide, General Morrison growled. By maintaining balance, Sarah corrected. From its perspective, allowing one species to develop universe-altering weapons threatens the survival of all others. President Hassan stood and walked to the viewport, showing Earth's curve against the star field. So our choice is between certain extinction and destroying the foundation of galactic civilization. Yes, sir. How do we contact the Kepler archive directly? Webb activated his workstation. They provided quantum encryption keys. We can establish a secure channel, but it would expose them to the network. If we're discovered cooperating, they'll be eliminated alongside us. Time frame. Sarah checked the Neptune readings. 12 hours, 47 minutes until the weapon fires. If we're going to attempt the preservation protocol, we need to act within the next 8 hours to allow transit time to the galactic core. Admiral Torres activated fleet communications. All vessels, prepare for emergency deployment. We're taking the fight to them. Admiral, Sarah interrupted, this isn't a conventional military operation. We need surgical precision, not firepower. One ship, one railgun, one perfect shot. And if we miss, then humanity dies and the cycle continues for another 1,000,000 years. President Hassan turned from the viewport. Dr. Chen, contact the Kepler archive. Tell them we accept their proposal. As Webb initiated the quantum handshake protocol, Sarah watched the energy readings from Neptune climb steadily upward. In 12 hours, a weapon beyond human comprehension would fire, erasing not just humanity, but every trace they had ever existed. Unless they could do the impossible, travel 26,000 light-years and destroy a target the size of a solar system with a single projectile. The universe held its breath as two civilizations, separated by 80,000 years in an ocean of space, prepared to challenge the cosmic order that had ruled the galaxy since before Earth's sun was born. Connection established, Webb announced. The Kepler archive is standing by. Sarah activated her communicator. This is Dr. Sarah Chen of Earth to Kepler Archive Command. We're ready to break the silence. The reply came instantly, carried by quantum entanglement across impossible distances. Welcome to the Resistance, young species. Now, let us show you how to kill a god. The journey to the galactic core aboard the experimental vessel Prometheus should have taken decades, even at maximum velocity. But the Kepler archive had spent 80,000 years preparing for this moment, and they had gifts to share. Gravitational slingshot coordinates locked in, reported Captain Maria Santos from the pilot's seat. Around them, the ship's hull creaked under forces that shouldn't have been survivable. The Kepler Archives modifications had transformed humanity's fastest vessel into something that bent the rules of physics. Sarah monitored the railgun systems from her engineering station. The weapon they'd mounted on Prometheus was more than just a scaled-up version of the Mars installation. It incorporated Kepler technology that allowed projectiles to maintain coherence through folded space-time. Transition in 30 seconds, announced Dr. Webb from a navigation console. Through the viewports, space itself twisted into impossible geometries as they prepared to slip through a carefully calculated weakness in the galactic quantum infrastructure. 8 hours had passed since they departed Earth. Behind them, Neptune's weapon continued charging, now at 93% capacity. The mathematics were brutal. They had less than 4 hours to reach the galactic core, fire their shot, and pray the quantum network collapsed before the alien weapon achieved full power. "Transition now," Captain Santos called out. Reality folded around them. Sarah felt her consciousness stretch across dimensions she couldn't name, experiencing the universe from perspectives that human minds weren't designed to comprehend. For an eternal moment, she existed everywhere and nowhere, connected to every quantum particle in the galaxy. Then they emerged into normal space, and the sight before them stole her breath. The galactic core spread across their viewports like a living galaxy in miniature. Millions of artificial structures orbited the central black hole, their surfaces gleaming with technologies beyond imagination. But at the heart of construction, something vast and ancient pulsed with malevolent intelligence. "Target acquired," Sarah announced, her voice steady despite the terror clawing at her chest. "The quantum network central node is... God help us, it's beautiful." The entity stretched across space like a mechanical flower, its petals composed of crystalline structures the size of planets. Each petal hummed with the combined thoughts and communications of thousands of civilizations, creating a symphony of consciousness that had orchestrated galactic affairs for millions of years. Kepler archived to Prometheus came the transmission from their hidden allies. "Final firing solution uploaded to your targeting computers. You have one shot, one chance. Miss, and the network adapts. There will be no second opportunity." Sarah activated the railgun charging sequence. Around them, the ship's power systems diverted every available erg to the electromagnetic coils. The tungsten Kepler composite projector locked into position. 2 tons of metal and crystalline computing matrices designed to maintain targeting accuracy across 26,000 light-years. "Charging at 60%, she reported. 90 seconds to full power. Through the quantum intercepts, they could hear the galaxy responding to their presence. Thousands of civilizations frantically coordinating their defenses, ancient protocols activating systems that had slumbered for eons. But beneath the panic, Sarah detected something else. Hope. Species had lived in fear for millennia, daring to believe that the cycle might finally end. Contact with the entity, Dr. Webb announced, his face pale. It's trying to communicate directly." The main display flickered to life. Mathematical concepts flowed across the screen. Not the cold calculations they'd seen before, but something that felt almost organic, personal. "It's not just a weapon," Webb whispered. "It's alive, conscious. It's trying to explain itself." Sarah watched the patterns evolve, her xenolinguistics training allowing her to parse the basic concepts. The entity had been created by the first galactic civilization to develop universe-altering weapons, a safeguard against the chaos that such technology could unleash. For 10 million years, it had maintained stability through selective elimination. It doesn't see itself as evil, she realized. It sees itself as a gardener, pruning dangerous growth to protect the whole. "Railgun at 90%, Captain Santos announced. "Whatever we're going to do, we need to decide now." The entity's communication grew more urgent. It showed them visions of the galaxy without its guidance, species destroying themselves with relativistic weapons, quantum infrastructure collapsing into chaos, the slow extinction of intelligence as civilizations retreated into isolation. "It's not wrong," Dr. Webb said quietly. "Destroying the network will fragment the galaxy. Millions of worlds will lose contact with each other. Technological regression, cultural isolation, possibly even wars as species compete for resources without coordination. Sarah stared at the readings, but they'll be free to choose their own path, free to succeed or fail without cosmic supervision. Railgun at full charge, she announced. Firing solution locked. Target acquired. The entity made one final plea. Mathematical concepts describing cooperation, guided evolution, the peaceful development of technology under its watchful protection. For 10 million years, the galaxy had known peace because dangerous species were eliminated before they could threaten others. President Hassan's voice crackled over the quantum communicator from Earth. Dr. Chen, the Neptune weapon is at 98%. Whatever you're going to do it now. Sarah's finger hovered over the firing control. Around her, the crew of the Prometheus waited for her decision. Behind them, 8 billion people faced extinction. Ahead of them, an ancient intelligence offered eternal security at the cost of eternal subjugation. The choice isn't between peace and war, she said aloud. It's between safety and freedom. She pressed a button. The railgun discharged with the force of a dying star. Their projectile streaked across the galactic core at 30% light speed, its Kepler-enhanced targeting systems adjusting course through 14-dimensional shifts as space-time itself tried to deflect it. For 3 seconds that lasted forever, Sarah watched their shot race toward the entity's central processor. The ancient intelligence didn't try to dodge. Perhaps it couldn't, or perhaps it chose to face its end with dignity. The impact released energies that painted the galactic core in impossible colors. The entity's death cry echoed through quantum space as its consciousness fragmented across dimensions. One by one, the crystalline structures went dark. The network that had connected thousands of worlds for millions of years simply ceased to exist. Across the galaxy, civilizations suddenly found themselves alone with their thoughts for the first time in their recorded history. Neptune weapon powering down, reported the quantum communicator. The alien ships they're just floating there. No response to any signals. Sarah slumped in her chair, exhaustion and relief washing over her in equal measure. They'd done it. Humanity had survived. The galaxy was free, and the ancient cycle of extinction was finally broken. Kepler archived to Prometheus. Came the transmission. Welcome to the new galaxy, young species. What happens next is up to all of us. Through the viewports, Sarah watched the galactic core's artificial structures drift silent and dark. For better or worse, the age of guided evolution was over. The age of true freedom, with all its dangers and possibilities, had begun. And somewhere in the depths of space, radio waves began to whisper across the void once again as civilizations cautiously reached out to each other, no longer afraid to make noise in the cosmic dark.